Now, when you get the offer, you do not have to take it right away. You can think about it. Okay? Now be reasonable. Okay? Give the don't take any more than about a week or so. But you know what? This is a fantastic offer. Thank you so much. I want to think about this. Can I get back to you by next Friday? Take that time, right? You should have already done your research, but if you haven't, do your research now. Okay? You can come back and say, hey, I really like this offer. I really want to work for your company. However, the salary that you're offering me is a bit on the low end. And so here's what I think I'm worth, and here's why. Here's what I'm going to do for your company. Is there any way you can get me there or as close to there as possible? Recruiter say, give me some time. Recruiter will take some time. We'll have to get that approved. They'll come back. They'll make an offer for you. And either they'll counteroffer you or they'll give you what you want. Or they'll say, no, we're sticking to our guns. At that point, you have a choice to make. Okay? Don't send the recruiter running back and forth 3 or 4 times. Chances are, if you get what you ask for, you get close to what you ask for, you take it. Okay? The offer is also time to talk about needed time off. Okay? If you get a role and you have a trip already planned or something like that, okay, now you can talk about it. I will take that as long as you will approve me taking the first week of May off, because I have something that's already planned, already paid for. Now, if you just want to take something for fun and you haven't planned it, do not do that. Okay? Don't do that. But if, for example, you have a sick parent that you're going to go visit, you've already paid for the plane tickets, and you would lose money if you did not go on this trip, then at that point you can ask for those things. You may or may not get them, but you can ask. Now's the time to ask. Right? Because now they've said, okay, you're valuable, we want you, what's it going to cost to get you? Right? Please only have one request. Don't be like, yeah, I'm going to need a May 1st off, I'm going to need a June 1st, I'm going to need every Saturday off, I can't work after 5, and I'm going to need a gold throne to sit in. Right? We don't want to do that. Okay? Also, if there is relocation involved, okay, if you plan on moving to another state, get an idea of what it's going to cost, and be on the high end for relocation costs, because Uncle Sam is going to want some of your relocation money. So it's going to cost you 30 grand to move to New York for that Wall Street position. Okay? If the company gives you 30, you're only going to get 15. Uncle Sam's going to take half. You're not going to have enough to move. Right? So be sure to tell them, I'm going to need 30 after taxes in order to do the move, and here's why. Right? I've got to uproot my family. I have to sell my home. I have to move my cars. I have to do this. I have to do that. Right? Now, when I say on the high end, be honest though. Right? If you're a single college kid right now and you have no family, no kids, it's not going to cost you diddly, right? I'm going to need 7 or 8 grand for the plane ticket, deposits, whatever, right? Be realistic, okay? And then again, how is it going to benefit you? Take the offer, or start the offer as soon as possible. Okay? Don't keep those people waiting, right? I can take the offer, but I can't start for 3 months. Now, employers understand that it is proper to give 2 weeks. Right? So they're going to expect you to start in 3 to 4 weeks, usually, right? And so it is usually prudent to start within about 3 or 4 weeks of whenever you get the offer, right? Gives you time to go to your employer, give them the 2 weeks, it's normally respectable, right? And then for you to get started. And usually they'll have a training class or they'll have some start date that they had in mind already, assuming that you were going to give your 2 weeks. Very rarely will they say, we need you to start next Friday, right? Because they don't want to put you in a situation where you piss off your employer, because guess what? You'll do it to them when you leave. Right? So they want you to do that, right? And make sure that you do give your current employer at least the 2-week notice, right? Now, if you're going to start a month out, give your employer the month, okay? You don't want to burn bridges. And the more time that you give your employer, the less time they have to go without someone else, right? Some companies, they walk you out and just pay you. Chase did that to me. I gave Chase my 2 weeks notice when I walked with Bank of America, when I was Bank of America. They asked me, are you going to another bank? I said, yes. They said, you can go home, we'll pay you. Right? Because they don't want me stealing their customers. They don't want me taking all that information and stealing their customers. Right? And Bank of America gave me 30 days. I gave them my notice. I was like, yeah, I hate this job. I don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, okay. I'm giving you a month. I'm going to look for other jobs. He's like, okay, you got it. Give me your laptop. They gave it to me. Right? So, and the reason for this, your hiring manager doesn't want to go without a person, because usually your goals affect theirs. And it takes a while to hire people. Think about how long the interview process takes, right? So you've got to select a candidate. Usually takes a week or 2 to do that. And you've got to interview them, and sometimes there's multiple interviews. Then you make the offer, and then if you have to negotiate the offer, that takes longer too. right? So, you know, be polite to your previous employer because you may come back one day. May not. And not only that, but you'd be surprised how often people you worked with at one company will be at a different company later on that you work at, right? My friend Luisa got me in Cox. We worked together at Chase. And he's the one who got me in there. Some of the people I worked at the mortgage company ended up going to Chase later on. And I've seen people throughout my careers that have moved it to the same companies I worked with, and I'm always glad I didn't burn those bridges. All right. So with that, I kind of want to hand the baton over to Chris and let him talk about some of the things now that you have the job, right? Benefits, your paycheck, things like that. So I'm going to pass the baton here. Okay. Thank you.
Before we do that, couple of things, points to what Daniel was talking about. Just to bear in mind, if you were ever to be pushed, after you get your first job, we're mostly talking about your first good job, but after you have that job, when you're going off to the next job, if that next job is very similar to what you're doing right now, so it's not going from, you know, a regular employee to a manager or something like that, then you'll often find that the hiring company won't even, in terms of the salary negotiation, will fully expect to be paying you at least a 10 to 15% premium. That's kind of the going rate. So, you know, just to get you away, because they recognize the cost associated with that. This does not apply clearly if you're going from a regular individual contributor type status to somebody who's being a manager or manager to a director, going kind of up the management chain. Clearly that's a much different job. So, but it's just something to bear in mind in terms of salary negotiations and what you can go from there. What I wanted to focus on and talk a little bit about is what Daniel was talking about is once you've got the job, you say, yay, I've got the job, I'm my first real job, where do I go with this? First day into HR, they always walk you in, they bring you into HR, and they say, they put a book down in front of you and say, here are your benefits. You know, you're working for XYZ company. Here are your benefits. You got 24, 48 hours to make your choice of what benefits. And you sit there kind of going, what do all these things mean? And I've got to choose between all these different options. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of run through what some of these basic options are. You may not have been exposed to them in your current jobs, but just trying to explain to you what some of these things are. And what I did here is this is actually my paycheck. This is some things backed out here. But the reason I'm pulling this forward is you may or may not, depending on what companies you work for right now, have a similar format. But typically you always have, you know, how much you make here, how much taxes you have to pay. Yes, now that you've got a full-grown job, you're going to have to pay taxes. And then there are things that are grouped benefits that are typically grouped before and after taxes. Some benefits, as far as the government are concerned, don't affect you. You don't have to pay taxes on it, so those things can get deducted before taxes. And then the other stuff is after taxes. But there are essentially four broad categories, you know, that go into these different boxes. There are taxes that are going to impact your check. There's insurances, various types of insurances. There's retirement, and then there's health care. Okay, so these are kind of the four standard things. Sometimes there are other positions out there a little bit too that can also impact your paycheck, but again, these are kind of four broad categories. So, as you know, if you have had any job, if you're being paid $10 an hour and you work 40 hours a week, that's $400. When you get your paycheck, it's not going to be for $400. Okay? That's lesson learned number one. Okay? And it goes into these various categories of taxes. Now, do you know what these four categories are? So, do you know what federal income tax is? This is going to be an asking time. Okay, so for the one at a time students, do you know what federal income tax does?
Takes money away from your paycheck. That's the
money away. Do you know what it's paid? Fundamentally, do you know what it pays for?
It's not social.
Help. Your government services.
It's basically the federal income tax goes to the general funds of the U.S. to pay for everything that Uncle Sam's paying for. It pays for military, it pays for departments of XYZ, it pays for everything with the exception of, in terms of what we're talking about here, Social Security and Medicare. Okay, and that's even iffy somewhat on that, okay? So this just pays for the running of the federal government. Federal income tax is a major source for the federal government paying for the running of the federal government. And it is what's called a progressive tax, meaning if you make less, you actually pay less in tax. As you make a lot more money, you pay a lot more money. Okay, and so it caps out now at 39.7%, I think, and the lowest rate is something like 15%. Okay, I don't think you'll ever be in the 39.7% with your starting job. I can tell you that 99% of the people never get up in that tax bracket because that's based on a yearly salary. Okay, probably 99.9% of the people out there. The state income tax, and most states do have it. This is something to think about too, is if you get a job out of state, some states do not have state income tax. That's the same thing, but that pays for the state government costs. Okay, so that pays for education in the state. It pays for any sort of state-run program. Okay, so those are the two things that you can think about. The next one here is, and it goes by different names, it's FICA, or on my paycheck, it's OASDI. And that broadly is called Social Security. Okay? What does Social Security pay for? Again, I'm going to ask this as a question. You guys know what Social Security pays for?
Don't really know.
No? Okay. Fundamentally, Social Security is a program that pays the elderly, people over the age of anywhere from now from 65 to 67, a pension plan, a government-run pension plan, and it's paying them money. That's the primary goal of Social Security. Okay? So you're paying for people who are retired with this. There is a second component of Social Security that is a supplemental income that goes for people who become disabled on a job. Okay? These first two are, in most states, are some sort of progressive, as I said. The more you make, the more taxes you pay in terms of percentage. Social Security is a fixed amount. Okay? It's something on the order of 7% of what your paycheck is what you have to contribute, regardless of how much money you make, and your employer actually contributes the same amount. So if you ever decided you wanted to start your own business, you'd be paying on the order of 15%.
And it does cap out at 90 grand. So if you pay 90 grand into the system, you no longer pay Social Security. Not that anyone will get there, but
yes,
just heads up.
Yeah, but that number does change from year to year, so it does change. And that is that component. The second component of this, which is a smaller percentage, but is the same line as the Social Security, is Medicare. Okay? Again, Medicare is the health program that we support for the elderly. Okay, so that it makes sure that they're covered by health care costs. So how does Social Security work? Just briefly, is you will be told, well, you're putting this money into the government, you're putting this money in from your paycheck, and when you turn 65, you'll get the money out from your paycheck. Okay, that this program will go to fund what you're going for. And that is, in theory, how it works. In practice, what happens is your money that you're getting subtracted now goes to pay for people who are receiving benefits right now. And ultimately, you're going to be working on the premise that when you get to retirement age, you will, in fact, be able to have people who are working contributing to that. Okay? There has been and there will always be a lot of discussion about what these benefits will be in the future. The fundamental fact is there are fewer and fewer employees putting money into the program just because of the demographics of the U.S. society than there are people taking money out of it. We've got a lot more people who are living to the retirement years and fewer actual people working towards those things. So the ratios of the number of active employees per recipient has gone down over the years. So it's just something to bear in mind, but you won't be able to get out of these two taxes, and they're fixed amounts, okay? And as Daniel said, if you're fortunate enough to reach a certain salary cap, the government does cap it off. And the reason the government caps it off on the Social Security side is because the Social Security benefits that you get out are also based on your working life. I should have pointed that out. So if you earn $1 bazillion over the course of your life, you will get a higher benefit in Social Security than somebody who's worked a minimum wage job for all of their lives. Okay? That's just the reality of how this program works. You can argue fairness, you can argue correctness or anything else that you want with this, and I would highly advocate that you let your congressperson know your feelings, but this is the way it works right now, okay? So those sorts of things. So this is the biggest thing. One thing that's kind of screwy, it would be nice to be able to say, yes, my tax rate is X, and therefore I'm going to write you a check for X and take it out of every paycheck as X. But when you actually come to pay both your federal and your state taxes, there are a lot of different loopholes. If you buy a home, the amount of money you pay on the interest on the home gets subtracted from your income. So you don't have to pay taxes on the interest that you paid for your home loan, okay? There are all sorts of things like that. If you donate money to a charity, that gets subtracted from your income, so you don't have to pay taxes on that, okay? So there are all sorts of things like that that vary when it comes to filing your federal taxes, so it becomes difficult to quantify all of that. And so what the government does is they require you to fill out a W-4 form. So you probably have all filled it out. You may have checked the box on the bottom saying that I'm not going to have to pay taxes, so you've never had taxes removed from your paycheck, at least the federal income tax. It's a fairly simple calculation that they'll come up with. You know, how many people are you supporting? If it's just yourself, then that's one. If you have a spouse or children and things like that, that increases that number. And they come up with a number of what they call exemptions. So you can see on my paycheck, I'm married and I'm claiming 6 exemptions here, okay? One thing that is important with this, even though you fill this number out, and it'll say, you know, you have to pay all these taxes and everything like that, and the federal government will collect based on what you enter here, the more exemptions, the lower your taxes will be, okay? But what you'll find out is typically the number that the government gives you is lower on the exemptions, so you end up paying more taxes over the year, and then you have to give them back the next year in April when you file your taxes. Okay, so a lot of people, as a result of this, will get money back from your federal paycheck and when you file your taxes. From a money handling perspective, that's not the best thing, okay? It would be a lot better for you to just pay the taxes that you owe over the course of the year so that when April comes, you sign a statement saying, yes, this is how much taxes I paid, and by the way, this is how much I owe. The two numbers are roughly the same, and I'm done. The reason I'm bringing this up is that even though you're going to file one the first time that you get your job, if you get a large refund the next year, you can go in and adjust that adjustment. Okay? And just, you have to be careful about how you adjust it in as much as you need to make sure that it does cover the amount of taxes that you're going to have over the course of that year. Okay, so that kind of covers the taxes. The health care, if you're fortunate enough to have a company that pays for health care, they're going to give you generally they give you a broad range of different health care plans that you can sign up for, at least more than one. Sometimes they will limit it to one and say this is your only option. but there are several different types of health insurance, and they all have different costs. Okay, so the first one is something that's typically called a PPO plan, or a preferred provider organization. And it is, well, let me backtrack. It used to be, when I was a kid, that if I went to see a doctor, the doctor would charge $100. My parents would take that $100 bill, they would fill out a form, they would send it in to the insurance company, and the insurance company would write them a check for $80 and send it back to them. So it was what we called an 80-20 plan. Your expectation was that you as the recipient of this health care would pay 20% of the cost, and the health insurance company would pay 80% of the cost. Okay? And usually the cost associated with running that policy came out by the company. The company actually funded that, so this was a benefit that the employees received for working at that company. Healthcare costs have gone up at a much, much faster rate than the economy has. And companies have scrambled over the years and no longer can afford this. Okay? And so they've tried all sorts of different things, different ways of doing this. So the concept of a PPO is as close as what I'm telling you now to the what's so-called 80-20 plan. Usually you can see any doctor you want. You may have to specify who your primary care physician is, but they usually pay something like $80 for every $20 that you have to pay. So if it's a $100 bill, they pay $80, you pay $20. You no longer submit the forms typically anymore. What happens is the doctor submits the form saying you have a $100 bill, and then they send you a bill for $20 in the end after they get paid. Okay? This tends to be the most expensive form of insurance, just for your information. The second one is a health maintenance organization. And they came around because these other forms of insurance became so expensive. And the original idea behind a health maintenance organization, or an HMO, is that you didn't need a set doctor. A company, an insurance company, would fund in your city a clinic that had every doctor you would ever need. And they would then when you got sick, you went to that clinic, you didn't go to a doctor, you went to that clinic, and they would fund, they would address your problem, whatever your problem is. And people at first liked it because if I get sick on Monday at 7 p.m., those clinics might be open till midnight. So I could just go in after work and get my problem addressed. The problem over time is that people started realizing that every time I went to the same clinic, I might see a different doctor, and that doctor would ask me, well, how old are you? What medical problems you have? Blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, you're repeating the same thing again and again, and there wasn't some of the coordination that people wanted to see out of these clinics. And then the other thing that came out with HMOs that still exists is that, say you have a special procedure that needs to be done on your foot, and the clinic says, no, you don't need that procedure. That's okay, you can walk with a limp. Who do you argue with? They're the ones telling you it. And you say, well, yes, but my doctor out here is telling me that I really need this special procedure. He's not part of our group. Our group says you don't need that procedure. So a lot of people would resent that, and that they didn't have the flexibility with dealing with it. HMOs have changed somewhat over the years. Generally, you can now have a prescribed physician, primary care physician that you're dealing with, doctor. But you still have to go through that organization, and lots of times that primary care physician is associated with a clinic or a facility, okay? But by doing this, they've been able to cut down the costs. So that's less expensive than a PPO cost. The third one, which is something that's becoming more and more popular out there, is what they call high deductible insurance. And this is, it's kind of a crazy way, but basically companies are saying, you know, most people have in a year $1,000 worth of health costs. Well, we're not going to give you any money for the first $1,000 worth of health costs, okay? But if you get to something really bad, you get into a motorcycle accident, car accident, you have cancer at a young age, you have something that really hurts a lot, is very expensive, we'll cover it after that point. So they have what they call a deductible, which is the deductible is the initial amount that you're required to pay in a year before you receive any benefits whatsoever. And with these plans, those deductibles can be anywhere from, to be a high deductible plan, they have to be on the order of something like $2,000 an individual and somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000 if you're talking about family coverage. Okay? Which means that if you ever took this type of plan, this insurance, you need to set that money aside somewhere to account for the costs, initial health care costs. Okay? So these are the three that you're most likely to see within a company. If you work for a small employer, they may not have anything, in which case you're going to be restricted to the ACA exchanges, or so-called Obamacare. We'll see politically whether or not that exists a few years from now, or in what form. But these are still healthcare exchanges that are set up by the states. Guess what? Those healthcare exchanges, they use these three types, top three types, okay? So, as I said, it became very expensive for companies to provide this. So what you have now are three different costs that you pay for healthcare, okay? The first one is what you call the premium. And the premium is the amount of money that's going to come out of every one of your paychecks to pay for this cost. Okay? So regardless of whether you use it or not, you're going to be paying for health care. And that's called the premium. In the past, that was covered 100% by companies. Very few companies will cover that 100% now. Okay? The second one are deductibles. And as I said, the deductible is when you do start using health care, how much do you have to pay out of your pocket before the insurance company will pay? Okay, and if it's a non-high deductible insurance, that could be somewhere like $100, $250, something just to keep people from going out to the doctor because they have a runny nose. Okay, so that was kind of where some of those initial deductibles come into play. And then the last one are co-payments. And co-payments is back to this idea of the insurance company pays so much money and then you pay so much money. Okay? So to give you an idea, I'm on what's called a high deductible plan insurance through my employer. Everybody is at our company. We have no choice. Okay? I pay few $100s a month for premiums, so this covers my family. Deductibles are $3,000 a year before they will even pay in this system. And after the $3,000 minimum, I'm on an 80-20 plan for another $1,000 out of my pocket before. But if I ever have something catastrophic, which can happen, then the company will pay everything above that. Okay? Just for reference, it's pretty expensive, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Most companies have much generous benefits than that. But that's where it comes at that. But as an individual, you can expect to pay less, but understand these are your choices, and understand a little bit at least about what your benefits are about choosing one over the other. So you probably have a choice of one or two of those. Okay. The last thing I'll tell you about is when we talked about before and after taxes, especially with this high deductible insurance. One nice feature is that the federal government will allow you to take money out of your paycheck, put it in a separate bank account, and that is considered to be tax-free money. Okay, as long as it's used for medical purposes, it's not taxed. Okay, so as long as you're using that to pay for whatever would be covered by by health costs under the federal government's definitions, then that it's tax-free. And if you get to be a bazillionaire, that is a way actually of putting extra money in this BAT account every year, because after a certain point you can use it for investment purposes. And so some people will get into that, but don't worry about that now. Just understand that the health savings account is one that it's a long-term account. It's only available really with high deductible insurance plans. And then there's a similar sort of function called a flexible savings account or flexible reimbursement account. And those apply to the other two types with the same idea of it's pre-tax money, so you don't get taxed on it. The difference is this is a perpetual account. Flex savings accounts or flex reimbursement accounts only apply for 1 year, which means that if you do not use that money in the year, you've lost the money. You've given that money to your employer, Uncle Sam, somebody, I don't know who gets the money, but you do not get the money. Okay, so it means that people tend to be somewhat conservative on how much money they put in that account. Okay, so that's healthcare. Insurance. You will be offered an array of different insurances. Why are you doing this? Well, insurance is fundamentally your employer is wanting to make sure that if you get hurt or if you were to die, that your people who depend on you would be able to go on life and not be desolate. Okay? So they will offer you all these different things. These are all optional. Okay? The first one is there are two types of life insurance. Sometimes they offer one over the other. There's one called term insurance, which just means quite simply that, and usually with a company that means you will pay so much over the course of the year. If you were to die in that year, the beneficiaries of that life insurance will get that money. Okay? That's it. You put money into an insurance company, and they're ensuring that if you die, your beneficiaries will get to go on. Sometimes they will fix the rates over a period of time. So like over 5 years, they have a rate change every year gets difficult, so that's usually like if you're between 20 and 25, you pay one rate, 25 to 30 pays another, etc. As you might expect with term insurance, the older you get and the less healthy you are, the more expensive it becomes. Okay? So it's extremely cheap for somebody who's young like you to get term insurance.